Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into something that honestly could change everything about how we think about our bodies, about muscle, about fat loss.
Yeah, it's pretty groundbreaking stuff.
So here's the big question we want you, our listener, to chew on today. What if there was a way to get significantly stronger, leaner, gain serious muscle, lose fat, but without, all the harsh side effects we associate with the usual suspects? Imagine that world, a world where maybe reaching your physical potential isn't this brutal fight with, let's be honest, sometimes sketchy methods. What if it was, cleaner, healthier?
And that world might actually be getting closer. Our deep dive today is zeroing in on some really revolutionary research. It's coming out of Regeneron Pharmaceuticals.
Regeneron, okay.
Yeah, and specifically, they're looking at these things called non-androgenic anabolic drugs. Big words, but basically, muscle builders without the masculinizing hormone side effects you get from steroids.
Right, non-androgenic. Got it.
So we've dug through the studies, the early trial data, the projections. Our mission here is basically to pull out the absolute key bits of info for you. What are these things, and what could they really mean?
Yeah.
Because the implications, they're huge, potentially world-changing.
Okay, so let's start where most people probably start mentally. When you say drugs and muscle building in the same sentence, everyone immediately thinks steroids.
Exactly, that's the default. And there's a lot of maybe misunderstanding around what they actually are.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we kind of need to clear that up first to really get why this new stuff is such a big deal. It's super important to understand that steroids, the ones bodybuilders might use, they weren't primarily designed as muscle growth drugs.
Oh, really?
No, their main original purpose was, to masculinize animals and humans, make them more male-like. The muscle building part, the anabolism. That's really just a consequence, a byproduct of their androgenic nature.
Huh. So it's like a side effect of the main effect?
Pretty much, yeah. It comes packaged with all the other male hormone effects.
Okay, so let's unpack that. If muscle growth is just part of the package, what are these other androgenic side effects? The ones that make steroids, as you put it, I think, a rough-edged tool. Why are they so problematic?
Oh, boy. Well, the list is, it's long, and it hits people pretty hard across the board. For literally everyone, doesn't matter your biology, you're potentially looking at hair loss. Like male pattern baldness kind of hair loss.
Oof.
Yeah. Persistent acne, sometimes really bad. More body hair where maybe you don't want it. And then the internal stuff, worsening lipid profiles. That's your cholesterol, your blood fats.
Not good for the heart, then.
Definitely not. Pushes you towards heart disease risk. Plus, potential liver strain. And then there are mood things, increased aggression, anxiety, what people sometimes call roid rage. Though it's probably more complex than that.
Okay, that's already a lot. Is there more?
Oh, yeah. For biological males, specifically. Things like prostate enlargement, testicular atrophy shrinkage, basically, which then often needs another set of drugs, post-psychotherapy or PCT, just to try and get your natural testosterone production going again.
Wow. So you need drugs to recover from the drug.
Exactly. And for biological females, the androgenic effects can be, particularly rough and often permanent. Deepening of the voice, clitoral enlargement, messed up menstrual cycles, and, noticeable facial hair growth.
Permanent, you said?
Some of them, yeah. Like the voice change often doesn't go back.
Yeah.
So you add it all up. Severe, annoying, definitely health-damaging side effects. It makes steroids a really blunt instrument for just trying to gain muscle. You see why people have been searching for something better, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that paints a very clear picture. A rough-edged tool indeed. So for ages, the dream has been like the holy grail, a pure anabolic, something that just builds muscle, period. Without all that androgenic baggage, it always sounded kind of like science fiction. But you're telling me the sci-fi is here. It's real now.
That's basically it. Yeah, this isn't theory anymore. Regeneron Pharmaceuticals, they're making it happen. And we're not just talking about one drug, but actually a combo therapy. 2 different compounds working together.
Okay.
The names are a bit of a mouthful, travagramab and gretismab.
Right. Travagramab and gretismab.
Got it. But how they work is like elegantly simple, but super powerful. So travagramab is what's called a myostatin antagonist.
Myostatin? I've heard of that. Isn't that like the muscle-limiting gene?
Exactly. Myostatin is a protein your muscles make, and its main job is basically to put the brakes on growth, to say, okay, that's enough muscle.
Right.
And gretismab is an activin A antagonist. Activin A is another protein that works similarly, kind of reinforcing that stop growing signal.
So both are like natural limiters.
Precisely. They cap how much muscle you can build.
Yeah.
So what these drugs do, travagramab and gretismab, is they reduce the activity of myostatin and activin A. They essentially uncork your body's natural ability to grow muscle. They take the brakes off.
They uncap it. Unleash it.
Yeah, unleash it. And it seems to be dose dependent. The more drug you give, the more those brakes come off and the more muscle growth potential is unlocked.
That sounds incredible. Almost too good to be true. Taking the natural brakes off. So does this mean it lets you reach your true genetic potential, or could it push you even beyond that? And crucially, what's the proof? Where's the science on this?
Good question. It seems like it's primarily removing those natural inhibitors, letting your inherent potential shine through. Maybe even pushing past what we consider normal if your natural brakes are usually slammed on hard.
Okay.
As for proof, well, the really compelling stuff comes from the pre-stage 1 clinical trials. These were done not in humans yet, but in non-human primates. Small monkeys.
Monkeys? Why monkeys?
Because biologically, they're actually pretty close analogs for humans, especially for this kind of metabolic research. So the results are more likely to translate.
Yeah.
And they monitored them really carefully. DEXA scans, for instance, to get super precise measurements of fat mass, muscle mass.
Okay, so what did they do with these monkeys?
They had 4 groups over a 20-week study. Group 1 was the natty monkeys.
Natty, as in natural.
Yeah, exactly. Just dieted, calorie restriction, like a person trying to lose weight normally.
Yeah.
Your baseline control group.
Makes sense. Group 2.
Group 2 got semaglutide. You probably know it as Ozempic or Wegovy.
Oh, yeah, the weight loss drug everyone's talking about.
That's the one. Works mainly by crushing appetite, so they were in a big calorie deficit.
Okay. Group 3.
Group 3 got only travagramab, just the myostatin blocker. No semaglutide, no activin A blocker, just taking one break off.
Interesting. And the last group?
Group 4 got the full Monty, the combo therapy, both travagramab and gretismab, both breaks off.
All right, so natty, Ozempic, myostatin blocker only, and the combo. What happened? Spill the beans.
Okay, strap in because the results were pretty wild. Let's talk grams, roughly.
Okay.
The natty monkeys on their diet, they lost about 400 grams of body fat. Pretty good. And they lost hardly any muscle, like 15 grams. That's a good ratio, what you'd hope for in a careful diet.
Right, standard successful diet outcome. What about semaglutide?
Semaglutide monkeys lost way more fat, almost double the natty group, around 700 grams.
Yeah.
But they also lost a lot more muscle, like 100 grams. That's 5 or 6 times more muscle loss than the natties.
Ouch. Because they were just starving from the appetite suppression?
Pretty much, yeah. Huge deficit, body starts burning everything, including muscle. Standard downside of rapid drug-induced weight loss sometimes.
Okay, now for the interesting ones. Travagramab only, the myostatin blocker.
This is where it gets cool. They lost even more fat than the semaglutide group, about 1,300 grams. So triple the natty group's fat loss. But here's the kicker. They lost only about 15 grams of muscle.
Wait, the same muscle loss as the natty dieting group, despite massive fat loss?
Exactly. Taking that myostatin break off seemed to completely nullify the muscle loss you'd expect from that kind of deficit. Huge fat loss, protect the muscle. That alone is pretty amazing.
That is amazing. Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat. The combo group, travagramab and gretismab.
The combo group.
Yeah.
It's a real showstopper. They lost the most fat of all, around 1,400 grams, so even more than the myostatin-only group. Double semaglutide, nearly 4 times the natty group.
Yes. Yeah?
They didn't just lose no muscle, they gained muscle. They put on about 450 grams of lean muscle mass.
Hold on. They lost the most fat. ND gained almost half a kilo of muscle while eating in a deficit.
NED without any weight training.
You got it. Gaining significant muscle while in a calorie deficit with 0 resistance training.
Just let that sink in. That completely breaks, like biology 101, right? You're supposed to lose muscle in a deficit, especially without training. Gaining muscle, that's astounding.
It really is. It rewrites the rule book on body composition. Total paradigm shift.
Wow. Okay. So monkeys are one thing. How likely is this to actually work in humans?
Well, like I said, the biological similarities are pretty significant, so the probability is considered quite high. And the really exciting news is that stage 2 clinical trials are happening right now in humans.
Stage 2 already, so we're past the initial safety checks. Seems like it. We're moving towards seeing if it works as well in us as it did in the monkeys.
Okay, let's make this real for people listening, because numbers are one thing, but picturing it, let's do a hypothetical. Say you've got identical twins.
Okay.
Both are, let's say, 200 pounds, 20% body fat. Reasonably average guys, maybe a bit overweight. They both decide, right, 5 months, let's get in shape. Twin number 1 goes the natty route. Diet, maybe some exercise. What happens to him based on extrapolating that monkey data?
Okay, so twin one, natty approach.
Oh.
Over 5 months, extrapolating the ratios, he'd probably lose around, say, 8 pounds of fat. Maybe lose less than a pound of muscle if he's careful. So he ends up around 192 pounds. Body fat maybe drops to like 16.5%.
Noticeable difference. He'd look better, feel better. People would probably comment.
Yeah, a solid, respectable result for 5 months of effort.
Now, twin number 2, he gets the, what should we call it, the triple threat. Semaglutide for appetite control plus travagramab and gretismab. Same 5-month diet period. What happens to him?
Okay, twin 2, on the triple combo, he loses about 28 pounds of fat.
28 compared to 8.
Yep. And while doing that, he gains around 9 pounds of muscle.
Gains 9 pounds of muscle while losing 28 pounds of fat. So what's his end weight and body fat?
His end weight would be around 181 pounds. But because he swapped so much fat for muscle, his body fat percentage would plummet to around 6.5%.
6.5% body fat, starting from 20 in 5 months, while gaining 9 pounds of muscle.
That's what the extrapolation suggests.
The visual difference between those twins, it wouldn't just be noticeable, it would be jaw-dropping. One guy looks fit, the other guy looks like a completely different person, like a fitness model.
Exactly. It's a wild transformation, a totally different level of change. We're talking about redefining what someone can achieve, body composition-wise, in a relatively short time.
And when could this magic bullet actually be available, if the human trials pan out?
Well, FDA approval processes take time. You've got stage 2, then potentially stage 3 trials, then review, best guess. We're probably looking at market availability somewhere around 2027, maybe 2028.
2027, 2028, that's not actually that far away.
Nope. Just a few years, potentially.
So, okay. Clearly a massive deal for individuals wanting to change their bodies. But let's zoom out. What are the wider implications here for health, for fitness culture, for society? I mean, it sounds almost too good. Are there potential downsides we haven't talked about? Any other side effects known, even minor ones?
That's the really interesting part. Right now, based on the available data, the side effect profile looks remarkably clean. The main thing noted so far is actually increased hunger.
Increased hunger. Well, that makes sense if you're building muscle like crazy.
Exactly. Your body needs fuel. But here's the clever bit. If you're already using something like semaglutide, which reduces appetite, you could potentially just, tweak the doses. Balance the hunger effect from the muscle builders with the appetite suppression from the GLP-1 drug.
Ah, so the combo approach isn't just for results. It could help manage side effects, too.
Potentially, yeah. It suggests a future where these things are used synergistically. And beyond that, the major known side effects are, well, positive ones mostly.
Positive side effects? Like what?
Well, huge strength gains, obviously.
Right.
If you're packing on that much muscle, you can get way stronger. But also the broader health benefits. More muscle mass is fantastic for metabolic health.
How so?
It leads to much better blood sugar control, lower blood fats, better insulin sensitivity. And there's a whole cascade of other benefits, maybe 20 or so major health improvements linked to having more lean mass, things that could seriously impact rates of type 2 diabetes, heart disease.
So this isn't just about looking good. It could genuinely make populations healthier.
Massively so. We could be talking billions, maybe trillions saved in healthcare costs globally if these become widespread. And remember, Regeneron isn't likely to be the only player for long.
Ah, competition.
Exactly. Other pharma companies are almost certainly working on similar things. And with tools like AI speeding up drug discovery, we can probably expect future versions to get even more effective. More muscle, maybe even more fat loss, and potentially even fewer side effects, if any emerge.
Okay, so thinking about the current fitness world, what happens to steroid users? Do these drugs just make steroids totally obsolete for physique goals?
I would think, for the most part, yes. Why would you use the rough-edge tool with all those brutal side effects if you can get better muscle gain and fat loss with minimal downsides?
Makes sense.
My guess. Almost everyone currently using steroids for physique enhancement will likely switch to these new non-androgenic anabolics. Or maybe they'll just stick with basic testosterone replacement therapy, TRT, just for general well-being, and let these new drugs handle the heavy lifting for muscle growth. They're just much more direct and way, way better for that specific goal.
What about the hard work aspect? Will people complain it's cheating or easy gains?
There might be some of that talk, sure.
Yeah.
But I actually think it could empower people in new ways. It leads to this idea I call aesthetic customization.
Aesthetic customization? What do you mean?
Think about it. If these drugs are so good at building and maintaining muscle overall, even in muscles you don't train hard,
Right.
it means you could potentially focus your really intense gym efforts only on the specific muscles you want to pop aesthetically. The mirror muscles for some people, biceps, shoulders, upper chest, maybe calves, forearms, upper back detail.
So you could sculpt more precisely.
Exactly. You wouldn't have to worry so much about, say, your legs shrinking if you focus on your arms for a while, because the drugs help maintain baseline muscle everywhere. It allows for a level of physique sculpting and specialization we've never really seen before, bypassing genetic weak points, maybe.
That's fascinating, like body sculpting on easy mode almost.
In a way, yeah. And think about what this means for female athletes, especially in physique sports.
Ah, yes. You mentioned the androgenic side effects earlier.
Exactly. Women will be able to build significantly more muscle, achieve physiques that were previously only possible with risky androgen use. But without the voice deepening, the facial hair, all those unwanted masculinizing effects. It could trigger a total renaissance in female bodybuilding and physique competition.
Wow. And for the average person,
Yeah.
the non-competitor, maybe someone who feels like they have crap genetics for muscle gain or just struggles to stay consistent.
Huge benefits. Better health, like we said. More muscle, less fat, easier weight management,
Yeah.
feeling stronger, looking better. It could genuinely improve quality of life for millions. People who've maybe felt fitness was impossible for them might suddenly find it accessible.
It sounds revolutionary across the board. But could it make people lazy? If you can get amazing results with a shot, will people stop bothering with the gym with healthy eating?
That's the common fear, right? That we'll all just sit on the couch and take injections. But I actually predict the opposite.
Really?
Actually,
Why?
I think we could see a second renaissance of hardcore gym culture. Think about it. When people start seeing radical results, when their effort actually translates into amazing changes thanks to these tools, does that make them want to quit?
Probably not. It'd be incredibly motivating.
Exactly. It's empowering. If you're suddenly gaining muscle and losing fat like never before, you're probably going to be more excited to hit the gym, to eat well, to push harder, and see just how incredible you can look and feel. You'll want to perfect that physique the drugs are helping you build.
So instead of replacing effort, it could amplify the rewards of effort, making people more engaged.
That's my bet. You give people the tools to succeed spectacularly, and they often rise to the occasion.
Okay, so wrapping this up, the big takeaway seems to be that truly monumental changes are coming. These aren't just better steroids, they're a whole new category.
Absolutely. They're poised to completely outclass traditional anabolics for body composition goals. Safer, more effective, just better.
It really feels like we're on the cusp of something huge.
I think so. You could really call it the dawn of maybe the aesthetic revolution, giving people unprecedented control over their physique and metabolic health.
An aesthetic revolution. Wow. So here's a final thought for you, our listener, to ponder. Imagine that world we talked about. A world where pretty much everyone has access to tools that let them genuinely achieve the body they desire, the body they feel healthiest in. What stands out to you about the implications of that kind of future? What excites you or maybe even worries you? Something to think about.